Cool.
Okay.
All right, we're back to the Backstairs podcasts. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great.
John, good to see you. Aaron, how are you?
I'm doing great.
You're doing great. That's great.
Just like
Man,
John.
Like just like John. Exactly. Like
Pretty close.
you guys are on the same wavelength.
Neck and neck. We talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
And we're like, how you
Yeah.
doing? Good. Like
Good.
6.8? Yeah. So,
Yeah, apparently great.
Great.
Apparently.
Apparently.
What about you, Scott?
I am doing
It's
great
good to
as
see you.
well. It is good to see
The
you.
last time I saw you,
We don't have to talk about that.
the last time I saw you, you were just getting off of a great podcast episode.
Right. Yes, that's exactly it. And I was celebrating.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you have a good time?
I had a good time.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a good time too.
Apparently. Yeah. It's good. We did a little karaoke.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a great time.
It was fun.
Yeah, I think we referred that we were going to do karaoke.
We
after
did.
that, right?
Yeah.
So,
And we did.
to
feel-
confirm, we did it.
We
Nailed
did it. Nailed it.
I feel like we should say the songs we sung.
What was that song we sang that John made us sing?
It was more than words.
Oh, yes. Extreme.
Extreme.
Mhm.
It was extreme.
Yes. It
I-
was quite
I
extreme.
thought it was the
Extremely-
perfect song to put you in for.
Extremely terrible.
No,
It was
I was
something.
terrible.
I thought it was great.
It
Thank
was
you.
something. It was
John-
something.
You sang a lot.
Oh boy, did I!
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes the host, man, it was rough for a little bit. It's hard because karaoke was going to start at 7:30, and at 7:30 when I went to start, everyone was eating dinner and didn't want to be sung to.
No.
So for a good half an hour, it was rough. It was rough.
Yeah.
It was an interesting karaoke crowd.
It was a little different, especially for Ugly Christmas Sweater karaoke.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was not.
Not a lot of people were there to sing.
No.
A lot of people.
However, I had a good time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Great time.
Yeah. Almost
too.
as good as the time I had at my wedding.
Almost as good?
Yeah.
Wow.
Have you ever heard about our wedding?
I have not heard about your wedding, and maybe we'll get into that today.
Well, I'm going to get into it right now.
You are? Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about your wedding.
We had a cash bar at our wedding,
Yeah?
but then it was not like when I say cash bar, it was paid for. So it wasn't a
Right.
cash bar. It was a
Right.
free bar.
It was an open bar.
Yeah,
Open bar.
that would be open. Yeah.
Anyway, and it was very open
Very open.
to the point that everyone was open. I mean, it was
Yeah.
pretty.
But it did start off as a open bar.
It did.
Well, I paid for a drink.
That you should not have,
Those were tips. I just took your money as a tip.
especially as a member of the wedding party. You should not have paid for anything.
Well, I got a drink, and then they're like, "This is gonna be whatever it was, $5." And I was like, "Okay."
So that was just some random person snuck behind the bar.
Yeah.
Says, hey, I'm going to make a little money here.
That could have happened,
Maybe,
maybe.
but yeah, but there was a lot of drinking done that night.
Yeah.
And I think I probably drank the least. I mean, like the guests of the wedding drank
Really?
quite a bit. It was
Yeah.
good. And the next morning, we said we would go to breakfast with Rachel's parents. And mind you, Rachel and I had stayed in Portland.
Uh-huh.
Rachel's parents said they were staying in Auburn, where we got married, and we had to drive back at 8:30 in the morning. So here I am going 70 miles an hour.
That doesn't seem
80
like a
miles
good
an hour
idea.
down the road, and we had stayed up and done presents and room service and
Other
wedding
things.
things.
Other things.
Wedding things.
And Aaron, as he's well known for, had completely decorated our
Wait a
car
minute,
to
wait a minute.
To the teens. I mean,
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say that Aaron was there
He
in
wasn't. I
Portland
was not.
with you.
he wasn't.
No, I was not invited to
I think
that.
we had texted several times during the night, but no. But anyway, so Aaron had completely decorated our car. So I'm going through a construction zone, probably going 15, 20 miles an hour over. And we come up behind an unmarked state trooper. I go around them and get pulled over. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And the guy comes up and basically, I mean, I think I was probably going faster than that.
Yeah.
And he said, congratulations on getting married. Drive safe. And, it was pretty
nice.
awesome. But yeah,
Do you hand them a couple of condoms?
there were condoms all throughout the vehicle at that point. He
That's
did not
what
leave
I-
with one.
That's what I mostly decorated with your.
Well,
with your car.
so You nailed it. After I went to breakfast, I went to get gas, and I open up the gas door, and a condom falls out onto the ground from the. So Aaron's just looking out for me. you
Right.
know?
That's what good friends do.
I didn't want any like honeymoon babies. Just
No.
Thanks.
enjoy at least a month.
I had quite the bride though. She was pretty awesome.
I know
She
your
is awesome,
bride.
but-
I know your bride.
You
I've
do?
met her. I've met your bride.
Oh,
We might have to confirm with her if this story is true or not,
I did not get a speeding ticket or the condoms
or
or the room service.
or the other wedding things you did.
I don't really want to talk about
Well,
that.
we'll have to talk to her next time we see her.
And was Aaron actually there or not?
Again,
Or
we
is it just you two?
texted, but he was not. He was not there
Okay.
It's kind of like a tradition of ours.
to check in on each other during our honeymoons.
Well, it's funny you should talk about your bride,
Yeah, Rachel.
Rachel.
Mm.
Rachel Potter,
Mhm.
wife of John Potter.
Yeah.
One of our hosts here.
Next time
at
we
the
see her,
Backstairs
we'll have to ask her.
Well, you know what? She just happens to be right here.
Hold on, wait, Aaron.
Right here.
Who do we have with us?
I find it really. I feel like since we have cameras now, that it's a little silly to pretend like we don't have anybody in here
I don't.
with us.
I still think you
Because
should
it's
give it a
like-
shot. I think
It's like they could just like go like, oh, it's
Okay, they
It's
can
Rachel.
see that she's here, but you still need to do the introduction.
that's like a vital part of the.
I think you should do it just because she's your wife.
No, you give much better perspective than I do.
This is
I don't-
your job,
I-
Aaron. We asked
Hi,
you to
I'm
do
Rachel. Let's just cut to the chase here.
It's Rachel Potter,
Hi.
the beautifully talented Rachel Potter.
Oh,
Hi.
nice.
Yes. Hello. I've been here
Rachel
the whole
Potter.
time.
So we don't know if she's beautifully talented or not, though.
We do. He just said it.
Oh, thanks,
Oh.
John.
Come on, you've got to listen.
John doesn't know if I'm beautiful.
Pay attention.
So nice.
Rachel,
Hi.
thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me.
Rachel just
So
coming
fun.
off her first on the stage
Ever.
acting performance
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
in the new show that shall not be named.
Oh,
The bee. But Rachel
fun.
is not new to our OHMPAA community
Nope.
or our theater community as a whole here in this area.
Nope.
Rachel,
Hi. It's me. It's Corn. It's me.
why don't you tell us, Rachel? Just tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you from?
Cool.
You know, we don't need the details on 8 pounds,
The
11 ounces
nitty-gritty.
when you were born or whatever.
Sure.
We don't need that stuff. But where
Everything
you
after that.
from? What brought you to here?
Got it. Okay. Well, hi. I grew up in Massachusetts in a town called Milford. I have my parents and I have two brothers. And I went to high school at Milford High School, where I learned how to play the clarinet in 6th grade. So I
Wow.
started playing my instrument probably a little over 20 years ago and still playing to this day, which is exciting.
Wow.
So I never thought I'd play for that long, but here we are. And then I went to college at USM for music education. I have my bachelor's degree in K-12 music education. I am a music teacher in the area. I am Mrs. Potter to those that know me around here.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Jeez.
Thank you.
It's-
Yeah, he's
yeah.
the only one that helps me get through the day.
Oh no! You're not Mrs. Potter because of me. I'm Mr. Potter because of you.
It's true. At first, it was
Oh.
that. It was, I'm married to John Potter. And now it's like, John is, you're Mrs. Potter's husband now. It's
Yes.
been fun to see that
True.
change. So it's cute.
Not only did you
Yeah.
take his last name, but you actually took it.
Oh, 100%. And
You,
ran
like,
with it. Yeah. My maiden name is Scholkoff, a very German last name, which I love. And it's very
is a
cool
cool
history,
name.
but it's extremely long to pronounce. So Potter is much easier. And I
And
love
the spelling
being,
must be tough too.
it was for a little,
Lot easier to spell
Oh,
Potter.
much
Yeah,
easier to
yeah.
spell Potter. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love all the Harry Potter jokes. I mean, just great.
Right.
So good.
Oh my gosh.
So she married you for your name.
Yeah, but you're skipping a huge. I mean, like, why the
Well-
heck are you in Maine?
That's a good question. Well, yeah, I love USM. I went to USM. I auditioned there and I wanted to get out of Massachusetts for a long time in high school.
As people are wont to do, get out of
Kind of.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity in Massachusetts for schools and colleges and things. And there's a lot of great music programs, but I wanted to teach clarinet privately. So I went to USM and took a lesson with Tom Parchman, who's a clarinet teacher over there, and it was amazing. And he's an incredible musician. So I wanted to study with him, and I wanted to come to Maine and try something different. And so it's been a blast ever since. So, and then I met John in college too.
Low point.
Low boy. I don't know how far you guys want me to go in the story, but John and I sat 4 seats from each other in chorus my second semester in school because I had to take chorus for a couple of years. And John was highly jealous of someone else who was flirting with me in the chorus. So then he stepped in and swooped in and stole my heart.
That's
and then,
not how the story goes.
oh, all right.
I saved your life.
You did actually. That was true. That's a good point.
Some idiot was messing with your hair clip, and I saved your life.
You did. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Wow.
Was he
glad.
going to kill her with a hair clip?
No, but
No,
she
I
was
had a
going to kill
haircut.
him, and
And
I
he was
saved his life at
unclipping
the
my,
same time.
yeah. It was kind of annoying. You're right.
Yeah.
But you came in just like a knight in shining armor.
I got you.
Thanks,
Save
babe.
the day.
So great.
Nice.
So I think I mean, just speaking from my point, like you're
Mhm.
super talented,
Oh, thanks.
Agreed.
but like
right.
at school, I mean, you had quite the successful 4 years at USM.
Yeah, I did a lot. There was a lot of playing at that time, a lot of teaching at that time. USM is really cool because their music ed program you teach every semester. So it's nice I'm going into the classrooms of teachers in the area and connecting with them and getting to know them. So putting your name out there, I find is super important. So that was really cool. And then I was really heavy into playing pit orchestras at the time. I loved musical theater back then. I loved playing, and my goal was to play on Broadway one day. That was like your high school dream. So I played as many shows as I could. So, through USM's musical theater program, I hooked up with Ed Reichert, who runs the program over there, and played some pit orchestras with him. And then I did a lot of clarinet choir stuff, a lot of clarinet stuff. So I did a lot of playing in college, but it was fun. It was a good time.
So why music? Why clarinet? What
Yeah.
got it?
What a loaded question. Yeah. I mean, I tried the flute in 5th grade and it didn't fit very well for me. So I gave it a year and then I tried clarinet after and it just stuck easily. And my teachers, Michael Crowley was my middle school band teacher. He was super inspirational in terms of me sticking with it. I had a really great program I come from. And then in high school, I had great band directors who were inspiring and gave me every opportunity I could to play as much as I can. I was involved in marching band and jazz band and pit orchestras in high school. And, I was really pursuing my clarinet joy and enjoyment of that. And I was something where I was a sports player. I played basketball for a long time and then I started getting into music and then I had to make that choice in junior year. So, I could either go full hole on music or decide to play varsity basketball. And I ended up choosing music instead over basketball. So that's a fun little tidbit about me. I played basketball since I was like in 4th or 5th grade.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I could have been a basketball player, but I just chose not to instead. And my mother she was really great. She pushed me in because she knew that was a really cool talent that I had. Yeah. And just music's fun. I mean, it's something like the community is the biggest thing I like out of it, which is what I teach my kids all the time is this is a place for you to feel like you're at home. And I found my friends there. I felt kind of out of sorts in sports world.
Right.
So to go into music and to play in band and to enjoy that community was really cool. So yeah, I think that might have been the reason why I really stuck with it, I think.
Cool. And it's clarinet. Is that all you play?
No, clarinet's my primary. I played that for a long time. And then I got into bass clarinet in college. And then I played alto, tenor, and bari sax in college and high school. Because when you're a reed player in a pit, you get like a reed book and it encompasses a couple different instruments. It can be flute clarinet, it can be clarinet, bass clarinet, tenor sax. It can be a combination of things. So I just learned how to play the saxophone, and then which is semi decent after you play the clarinet. If you're a music nerd, you kind of get it. And then I try flute a little bit, but mostly clarinet, bass clarinet, and then alto, tenor, and bari sax are my go-tos there. But I played a lot of musicals with just clarinet, so yeah.
I am on the record for saying that there is nothing sexier than watching Rachel play bass clarinet.
John does like the bass, which is such a bizarre instrument. So I think, but it's so uncommon. But it's a good one, So yeah,
that's considered a wind instrument.
All of them are, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
good job. You know an instrument family. I'm so proud of you.
The
music teacher in me is like so proud of you.
Is that what you're getting at?
Maybe. I don't know. So you're talking about getting into playing in pits.
Yeah.
Well, what is a pit for those people who don't understand? Yeah,
Good
we're not
question.
talking about an armpit here or a mosh pit.
Good question.
So-
So yeah, it's just an orchestra for a musical theater production. Is a pit orchestra. We call it the pit orchestra because you sit normally in a Broadway. You sit in the pit underneath the stage. So anytime you're involved in the pit, you're involved
It's
in the
an
orchestra.
actual pit.
Almost, yeah.
It's
You're
a-
under the stage.
There's lions in there and snakes and stuff,
Right.
Yeah.
in the
There's
pit.
the music director is just going into town.
Yeah.
So that's what that means. But you're the orchestra for the production is what that.
Do you remember the first pit you played in?
Yes.
What was the show?
Yeah. Well, when I was really getting heavy into playing clarinet, I got asked by another kid in high school I graduated with, who's now he music directs in New York and is really heavy into musical theater. His name is Sinai Tabak, but he invited me to play clarinet for Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat in high school, which was a fun little show. I did that in a company called Stage Left Theater in Hopkinton, Massachusetts, which was right next door to Milford. So that was a fun little connection. I did a couple shows with them. Children of Eden, I did with them. Into the Woods, I did with them. And I played clarinet in those.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was my first show and it was fun. I was hooked ever since. I loved it.
Still in school then, or
I was in high school. Yeah, I was a junior
you
in
were
high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a
Okay.
junior in high school at that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
Keep going.
keep going with what? My shows that I've been doing? Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
did write them down.
Oh, go for
So
it.
yeah, okay. All right, cool. I'm happy to do it. So yeah, I've done shows in a lot of different places. So in high school, I did 3 shows, and then when I went to college, and also in high school through Milford High School, which is where I graduated from, I did Kiss Me Kate, where I played clarinet, and I think I played a little bass clarinet, and maybe some alto sax in that. I don't remember. And then I became this pit representative person, where
Because you were a
I was.
female?
Well, sure, yeah. I think I was the only one interested in like taking that role of like,
okay.
what it
Yeah.
was like to be
Yeah.
in the pit orchestra. So we ended up doing Rent my senior year of high school, which was a
Oh,
fun,
really?
interesting, controversial kind of thing for the town. But I didn't play anything because I don't play electrical instruments. So I played the tambourine. It was great. But it was cool to be a part of Rent and like to see the town's controversy over the issue and their debates. And there was like stuff in the newspaper about us doing
Really?
Rent. And, oh yeah, it was a big deal. It was
When
pretty
was this?
cool. 2008 or 2009, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So it was it wasn't
Yeah.
totally normal back then. Like Rent was a kind of a, little taboo-ish, I guess.
Which
In-
is
in a way.
nuts because
08?
that show had been out
0809.
20 years almost at that point.
Yeah.
Or maybe just Milford in itself
It
wasn't
was-
used to that
yeah.
kind of stuff, maybe. Could
Yeah.
have been. Milford's kind of on the higher, wealthier-ish kind of town. So I guess that would be the case. But then in college, I did a lot through USM. I played in Wild Party. I played in Drowsy Chaperone. I played in Into the Underworld, which is a first-time Holocaust theater production. I did Pajama Game. I played Die Fledermaus, which is an opera. Triumph of Love. And then I had a couple friends in college who were music directing in different school districts around the area, like Sacabee Valley. And so I did like Annie, Oliver. I've done, trying to look at my list here, a good amount. I mean,
How many do you think you've done?
22 shows
22.
within
Wow.
like a 10 to 12 year period. I mean, it's not amazing. I've slowed down quite a bit, but back then I played a lot. It was
Yeah,
like
I mean,
almost
that's
2
like-
shows a
Yeah, I
year,
was gonna say.
2
Yeah.
or 3 shows a year,
Yeah.
depending. But I also did a lot of playing classically on top of
Yeah.
theater. Like it
Right.
wasn't just playing in musical theater orchestras. It was playing recitals and practicing for my concert band and wind ensemble music and just
Yeah.
actively being playing in general. So
Like coming to Verona.
yeah,
we
that
talk
was
about-
fun.
can we talk about that?
Sure. So USM, was it my junior or senior year? I think it might have been my junior year. USN collaborated with the concert band and the choirs and all them and put on Carmina Burana, which is a famous operatic piece of music. And I was first chair clarinet in that. We performed that at Merrill Auditorium, which was really fun.
Wow.
That was a blast.
Nice.
Yeah, that was super cool. A ton of USM faculty came and played
That's
and
cool.
sang. It was really awesome. There's a little bit of a recording on YouTube of it somewhere.
Ooh,
Exactly
dig
sure
it
where
up.
is. Yeah, it's fun and it's
Yeah.
neat. But that was a really good time. I love playing classical music personally. What I'm trained in is classical music. But to play at Merrill Auditorium is really fun. That's in Portland.
Yeah, beautiful place.
Yeah, where the Portland Symphony performs. That was a cool connection there.
It was amazing. I mean,
Yeah, you
to
went.
put it into perspective, first clarinet, she was right on the edge. I mean, she's right
Yeah.
next to the conductor, and you have a full orchestra and then a full choir behind that.
Yeah.
And just it was a really cool experience.
It was
Yeah.
neat. Shout out to Peter Martin for conducting that and Bob Russell for conducting the choir. Those are
Nice.
kind of like USM legends down there. But yeah.
Merrill Auditorium is a beautiful
it's gorgeous.
I-
yeah.
spot. Oh my
I
gosh.
saw Bob Marley there.
Oh, did
really?
you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. They do tons of different stuff, not just Portland Symphony over there too.
It's not the same. No.
No,
Yeah.
but
No,
the
I would've-
venue's nice.
Come on, I would have
He
loved
came
to see that.
Yeah.
he came in on a giant shopping cart.
Oh my gosh, he's too funny.
Was he singing Buffalo Soldier?
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay.
Neither was he playing clarinet.
Oh,
So
That would've been odd,
tot-
I think.
totally different.
Totally
sorry.
different.
It's
Yeah.
totally different.
That would've
But
been
it was
a
the
little
same
weird.
building.
Oh, that's the common thread.
That's the common thread.
Yeah.
It was at Merrill.
Right.
Yes.
But USM was
yeah.
correlated with the Portland Symphony Orchestra. A lot of our adjunct faculty that work there
Yep.
are actively playing in the orchestra. So
Right.
my clarinet instructor was principal clarinet player in the orchestra. So like we had those connections, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Which was another perk of going to school there because they gave you opportunities to be in Portland.
So
Which is nice.
needless to say, you've played a lot of music,
Yeah, I didn't even list like stuff up here, but yeah,
right?
I've
You
done
played in a lot
music.
of pits. You played in a lot of pits up here. You
Right.
know, I know you've been in the pit for a bunch of shows that I've been in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You've been in a bunch of pits that of the shows that Aaron's been in.
right.
Both of
The
them.
two, yeah. Well, one of them,
100%.
the second one, I did not.
She
I
wasn't-
acted with you the second one.
Right, that's true. That's right.
Played a dude
That's right.
as a lady.
And we're almost getting there.
Okay.
But yeah, so all these shows, musical theater shows, you've been in the pit. Have you wanted to act before?
Never.
You never wanted to act.
Never cared about it. I never thought I was a singer for a long time.
Really?
Yeah, I just never focused on my voice ever, and I never thought it would be something I ever wanted to try. And
Yeah.
then my interest in playing instruments has started to deplete the last couple of years as my teaching career is getting more involved, and I started to music direct too. Like, so my avenue in theater has changed quite a bit. So, but forever I was like, oh yeah, I'm playing instruments forever. And I might do that one day. Maybe my mind will switch because I'm impulsive sometimes like that, where I'll switch my mind on things. But
Yeah.
no, I was totally sold on playing instruments until the day I die almost. So yeah, I was never like, oh, good, I'm never going to get up there.
Well, that's changed now.
Yeah.
You got up on stage,
I
as
know.
you were just saying, here in
Yeah.
Aaron's second show, and
Mhm.
and you played a dude.
I
You
did
didn't-
play
you
a
didn't play-
dude.
You didn't
Well,
really play a dude,
The original
You-
character is a man, but
I guess.
it was
right.
a woman
It was- you were playing a woman.
right. Yes.
A manly woman, maybe?
I would say,
gruff. She wasn't manly.
rough around the edges a little.
A little rough.
The poor woman went to jail. for
But so
goodness sake, you know.
tell us about that. How did that happen? You went there to audition on purpose.
I did not.
But let's hear that story.
Oh, I wanted to just go and see my friends during auditions, so I walked in, and then they just needed someone to read for Barfay, which was shout out to my new bestie Zach Balcom. He played Barfay in our show, but I just read for that one night, and Kristen and Kempson were like, "Oh my gosh, she needs to come back." So I was like, "Okay, sure," and just kind of praying on it. And I was like, "All right, well, if this is meant to be, I'll get a role." And I came back for callbacks just to hang out with my friends because all of you were my friends. All of you are my friends, and you guys were all there. I was like, I'll just go hang out and see what happens. And then Kristen offered me the role of Mitch Mahoney, and I was like, all right, let's go. And I was pretty jazzed about it. I didn't know what was happening, but I'm glad that I said yes to it, I think, but I wasn't sure at the time.
Well, I'm pretty glad.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I
you
knew
said
it.
yes.
I was at that audition, and I know she had to be in the show.
Thanks.
But yeah, so this is your first show. Let's
Mm-hmm.
get into it. How was it? How did you start out? What did it feel like to start out? You had to sing.
I did.
Dance.
You weren't playing any clarinet. You had to do some dancing. You had to do some acting.
Sure.
So what was that like?
Yeah, it all came a little bit easier than I thought it was going to. I mean, I have musical experience. I had to sing in college. I got trained to be able to match pitch and sing. I have musical ability, but I never practiced it to use it to perform.
Mhm.
So to try to do that, it came a little bit easier than I thought it was going to. And I was really intimidated by my lower voice. I have kind of a lower tempered kind of voice. I'm an alto. Some people may call me a contralto. I don't know what that whole verbiage is there, but so I wasn't sure how it was going to go. So I was actually kind of thankful that the role was meant for a male tenor at first. So then my voice could kind of match
Yeah.
the solo
Right.
song a little bit. So when I was listening to the soundtrack, I'm like, oh, I can easily sing along to this. Great. And then, the line memorization was my biggest worry. Oh my gosh, I'm horrible at remembering lines. Like it was really bad. Like my memory is terrible. So how am I going to do that? And there's minimal dialogue for that character, which was great. So it wasn't intimidating, but it wasn't horrible at the same time. It was nice to be with my friends too, and to meet other people, like meet Zach and everything. And that was really fun. And it was just easy to have a good time.
Right.
And Kristen did a nice job. Like she was really wonderful. Like anytime I needed help with blocking or figuring out how to act on stage, she would model that. And I appreciated that quite a bit because I'm a visual learner. So it was nice to have the help that I can. And I'm used to, seeking the help if I need it. So
Right.
that was helpful that Kristen was welcoming and everything. So yeah, it actually went better than I thought it was going to. So I guess I proved myself wrong once again, like I always do. So yeah, it was good.
Proved yourself wrong. You thought you were going to be horrible,
Or I just thought it was going to be really difficult to
Yeah.
learn. I did not think it was going to go over well, but it ended up going a lot better than I thought. And I embraced the role in a way I didn't think I did. I could resonate a little more with that role too. It's kind of cool.
How do you mean?
Like a tomboyish kind of girl who,
Yeah.
Been to
You know.
prison.
yeah, well, that's not me. But, but like I am very more tomboyish than I am feminine in a way, I guess. So, sitting on a stool and just kind of slumping, like that's my normal sitting posture. So like being able to take that and then resonate that with that character was helpful to kind of bring it to life a little bit. Because I didn't know how Michelle Mahoney was going to really do or how she was going to, her demeanor was going to be. So I was like, well, I'll just do what I am because Kristen had suggested that and just kind of ran with it. That made it easy too, a little bit. I didn't have to act like totally different than I normally am.
Yeah.
So, which I think maybe would have been a little harder, maybe. Like I see like John doing like Aldolfo, which is totally different than him. I'm like, I don't know how I could have.
Is
Maybe.
it though?
Yeah, maybe not.
The
Or
accent
a role of
was
some kind.
different. but-
Yeah. He does bring Aldolfo out from now and then. If anyone wants to know, John does bring Aldolfo out.
He's a
sometimes.
bit of a Lothario.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. So it was a lot easier to learn than I thought. So I'm pleased with the experience.
Good.
So one thing you got to do is your brother, Scott was able to orchestrate your brother being one of the volunteer spellers.
Yes, my brother Max. That was awesome. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to sing. Because I knew the last speller that got out was my solo song. So I was like, I have to sing to him. So I saw Scott. I was like, Doug Panch, you need to make sure that he's last. Which was fun. So that was cool to sing to him. And I think he really liked it a lot. And there's a moment in my solo about, don't embarrass your mother, which is my mother as well. So that was fun to literally look right at her and be like, yeah, don't embarrass her. So that was funny. She was cracking up about that. So.
Yeah, because your parents were in the audience. Too,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. I think Max
Yeah.
liked being a part of that too, which was cool. And Max is kind of a theater guru, so he enjoyed being up
Yeah.
on stage a little himself. So that was fun. So yeah,
Awesome.
I know.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy you're decided to get onto the stage and
Thanks,
out of the
dude.
pit.
Thanks.
But I guess you're not going to stay out of the pit, right?
This next coming season, I will be out of the orchestra again.
You are? You're
Yeah.
going to be back into the orchestra, aren't you?
Well, yes, in a
Music
different
directing
role. I am
once again.
Yes.
So this will be your second music directing show, right? Am I right?
Yeah, I
there?
did Godspell in
You
2019.
did. You music directed Godspell.
Mhm.
You were
That
a
was fun.
producer.
I know.
I think he forgets.
I was there.
Okay.
We're talking to the audience
Oh,
here,
sorry.
and
He was
they
our
don't know.
producer.
I was the producer,
He
and
was, yep.
and she music directed wonderfully,
Thanks.
and she's going to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you going to be doing here when you music direct? What show is that going to be?
John and I are going to direct and music direct Jekyll and Hyde, which is very exciting. So,
It's a little interesting, I think. Jekyll and Hyde,
mm-hmm.
Right.
husband and wife team directing.
Yeah, which one's Jekyll and which one's Hyde?
Right,
In
that's
I'm
this
what I'm
situation,
definitely
yeah.
Hyde 100%.
You're the evil monster one.
Yeah, poor John. Yes,
So you're the sane doctor.
he is. He always is.
She's the
voice of
evil
reason.
monster.
I would
Yeah,
have guessed
that
the other
goes.
way around.
I
Oh,
would have too.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
depending
maybe-
on the day.
So,
But
Maybe.
there's a theme in Jekyll and Hyde that says the man that you run into the street, do you know which man you're getting? Because every man has two sides. So in some ways,
true.
we're both Jekyll and we're both Hyde.
Well,
Wow, that is deep.
Mm.
I just entered Inception, I think, at that moment.
you mean you fell asleep?
That's, yeah. And my dream became another dream, became another dream.
So I think
Am I awake? I don't know.
I think if I got brought into this, I think we need to boast a little bit about what our plans are for Jekyll and Hyde, right?
Sure,
Because
we can. Yeah.
we're going into it a little bit differently, music directing, than some other shows we've done here in the past. Would you agree?
In terms of like you and I, or just
Well, no,
in general?
just your game plan for being able to, your learning tracks you're planning on doing, and I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you're going into it.
Oh yeah, I
really
learned a
prepared
lot
of it.
from Godspell for sure. my learning tracks, yeah, are definitely going to improve for sure. Even though people thought they were comedically funny.
Well,
But,
but even then, you had wonderful learning tracks. You were so prepared
no thanks.
for Godspell, but I mean, you're really cranking it up for Jekyll and Hyde. I feel.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm going to really start after the new year and really plan and prepare. I'd like when I listened to the music for Godspell, it was like about a little over a year before auditions, just really conducting in the car and getting all the
Right.
timing, everything, and making sure I heard which voices were what and what vocal range each song was and which character. So then when we cast, you can prepare on who gets what part at what time. So when you walk into rehearsal, you have an idea of who's singing what at what time instead of kind of play it by ear and go every rehearsal. So just being a music teacher helps this role a lot because I direct on the daily all the time, but I direct kids, not adults. So different, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Jekyll and Hyde is a different show though. A lot of solo work, a lot of big ensemble numbers too. Darker theme to the story.
How
So-
big is the cast?
We're shooting for like 16.
Yeah, it's pretty decent.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good size.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
So you're liking the music directing?
I think so.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd do it again after Godspell because it was new.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure how that was gonna. I personally reflected on it for a long time and really wasn't sure. I tend to like be very hard on myself, so I'm like, oh, okay. There were a lot of
Mhm.
things that I could have done better. I didn't do. I'm not at the time I didn't think I was a vocalist. So, and I'm not a pianist. So those are some struggles, with certain things in terms of rehearsals and preparedness that way, or my pitch listening is not the strongest in the room, but it's there enough where I can hear if someone's singing correctly or not. But so yeah, I think this season being able to do it again, I'm going to definitely work on trying to make it more productive and more successful than I did the last time. But I don't know how. The music for Jekyll and Hyde is so different than Godspell. Godspell is everyone singing all at the same time,
Yeah.
all the time, or it's a solo for 16 measures and then everyone sings at every song basically. So
Yeah.
it'll be a different dynamic of musical preparedness, I think. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be fun. I'd like to continue moving forward and trying the
Yeah.
musical directing role,
Yeah.
and hopefully becoming stronger at that. I think that would be a nice thing to add to
Right.
my toolbox of things, I guess,
Cool. You got a pretty big toolbox.
Yeah, I never thought of that until you were asking me these questions. I'm like, oh,
Quit eyeing
there's
our
a lot
toolbox.
going on.
Well, wait a minute. I just
forget
meant,
a lot of
she
these
has lots of tools.
Thanks. Yeah.
Excuse me. Pardon me.
I know you.
If you wanted to know what karaoke was like last week, that was a snippet right there. Oh,
So-
man.
I think this is a good time to take a break.
This is when we normally take a break, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's take
Cool.
a break.
let's do it.
Beep, beep, beep,
Oh man, it's just so annoying
beep, beep.
being in drive-through lines. When I'm in the line at Burger King and they're taking forever.
Hey, what can I get for you?
I'm always so thankful when I get into the line at Dunkin' Donuts.
You are.
Hello, what can I get for you?
They're just so much better. I don't know what they do, but they're fast, efficient.
Have you tried the Dunkin' Donuts app today?
It's just it's something that's really changed my life, having the Dunkin' Donuts app. You know, I just order before I leave the house, drive up, say like I'm picking up my order for Aaron,
DD Perks.
and it's great.
Your online order for what name?
Aaron.
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 Drive right up.
Sometimes it's wrong.
Yeah, we're all out of Boston cream donuts.
All right, and
You know the BSP runs on Dunkin'.
Dunkin'
we
Donuts,
would- We
the
would run on
BSP.
Tim Hortons, but Duncan, you're good enough. Duncan, good enough.
Oh, they're going to be all over us for advertising for them now.
Man, well, in full honesty, I actually don't have the Dunkin' Donuts app.
No, I had it and spent way too much money at Dunkin' Donuts, so I get rid of it.
Good call. I'm proud of you.
Is that a good advertisement for
Dunkin'?
Dunkin' Donuts?
If you don't care about your savings,
Duncan, don't link your card.
Yeah. For real.
and we're back.
Yes.
And we're back.
Yep.
Rachel, you
Hi.
have done so much that we've talked about.
Yeah.
You've been in the world of musical theater for years and years and years. And I was just like, just to dive in just a little bit, maybe like, just like dig. Just like, so what is it like being a part of a pit?
It's very dark, very small, very. No, I'm kidding. But it kind of is.
Yeah, you're cramped.
Crammed
claustrophobic.
in. I've played in a lot of different spaces.
It's like a big pit. There's a lot of people jammed into a small area.
I think I've almost sat on Rick McAllister's cymbals at one point because I was so close to him. Like, I think we've just crammed ourselves. Shout out to Rick McAllister. But like, I think I've played really close knit. And I've also had a lot of space in pit orchestras too. At USM, we were in the top.
That's right.
There was like a top box in the very back of Russell Hall. That was where I played. That was like really hot in there too.
Oh.
So the temperature in those spaces is always fun to deal with too when you're playing a reed instrument. And then I've played in front of a stage, under a stage. I've played in a cafeteria. I've played in a high school gymnasium, a high school auditorium.
Yeah.
I've played in lots of different locations. But
On the stage.
on the stage, behind a stage. Yeah, I've done a lot of different places. Yeah,
Over the stage?
I've never done over the stage.
I've never
I don't know
seen
if
that done.
I haven't either. I don't know if that's ever a thing, but
I think we got to try it now.
sure.
We're gonna
We just build a
suspend
whole
the pit from the ceiling.
Oh my
You guys
word.
are on wires the whole time? You're like in like hanging suits. You're just like,
Perfect.
You
Great.
see
That'll
Rick
work.
McAllister in one of them drum sets like Tommy
Oh,
Lee has from
poor
Motley
guy.
Crue.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Does the flips. Does a
that'd be
He
awesome.
might be
the
in
whole-
on that actually.
Yeah.
He might enjoy that. Yeah. But it's a very close knit community of people.
Yeah.
And depending on your music director, you can really have a great time
Yeah,
and love hanging out with people and playing music. And then sometimes you're just there to play music and you go home. That's it.
you just get the check and
Kind of.
leave.
Yeah, depending on what you're doing and who you're playing with, depends on. Well, musicians are odd people, I will say, and music teachers are odd people, and I love them dearly. But sometimes you never know what you're going to get when you're playing. And I can imagine acting on stage is also the same.
There's a lot
So.
of characters in theater in general.
Totally, and the orchestra is
Imagine
just a part of that as anything else, I think.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I mean, you do have to really make sure you know the music more than just your actual part. You have to pay attention to who has what at what time. You know, when you have measures of rest, what's playing at that time, and vice versa. When you're playing, how are you blending with other people? What instrumentation are you missing? Especially at OHMPAA, where we only have a certain budget for a certain amount of people.
Right.
I've played multiple books at multiple times.
Right.
I've played read one. I've had 3 books in front of me at one point. Read 1, 2, 3, and I'd have to cipher through which song I would play, which book in,
Oh my
to be able to
gosh.
balance all the different things that you need in the song, in the music. So you have to know the music very well. Your music director has to know the music really well to be able to decipher what's important, what's not important.
Right.
And just like you have to practice. You get the book a month or 2 ahead of time, and you have a rehearsal on your own with just the music director, and then you join tech week and you're just supposed to figure it out because you're the professional musician coming in. being
Yeah.
asked to play with a theater group. So you're hired to essentially be prepared to play, which some shows have been easy to do. Some shows have been difficult to do. My toughest show is Thoroughly Modern Millie and it's in Scott Valley Players in Buckfield. That was a tough show to play.
Yeah.
There was a lot of jazzy clarinety things.
It's a jazz show, so
Oh,
my
yeah.
gosh, yeah.
And the tempos were so crazy. And I just I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a little in over my head because I hadn't played in a while before that. And I'm like, whoa, yeah. I had to really, really, really practice for that one. Not that I don't practice for other shows, but you have to take a lot of time to sit down and play.
yeah,
So I was practicing probably 3 or 4 hours a week up until that point and just really making sure.
yeah,
Because even if you go into a pit rehearsal, you're expected to have your part down, ready to go. When
Right.
you don't, you kind of look like, oh crap, I don't have my crap together. So then you go home and you start practicing more. But in the end, when you put on the show, it's super fun to be responsible for the music
yeah.
for the show. Really cool experience. I do love being a pit musician. I do. It's fun.
It's such an important part of shows.
Well, if you don't have it, you don't have a musical, really. Kind of.
I mean,
They put the music in musical.
Right.
that's true.
You can definitely
I mean,
do straight plays without a pit orchestra, for sure.
Oh, 100%.
Obviously,
But-
that was a joke. But my jokes, no one laughs at my jokes. But
Well, you
but a
do,
musical,
so
you
that's okay.
can't. I do. I'm the only one that laughs at my
Yep.
jokes.
As
But
long as somebody does.
thank you, Scott, for confirming that. But yeah, the pit orchestra is a fun, intimate. I've created a lot of cool friendships with people, and I've
Yeah.
also got into a fight once with someone in a pit orchestra. Like
What,
it's just
did you nail him right upside the head with your clarinet, or
Well, it was just me and a couple friends just having fun and trying to enjoy ourselves. And someone was just taking it a little too seriously and called us out for having a little too much fun. And so I snapped back and I'm like, dude, it's just for fun. Just chill out. It's okay. And some people don't look at it that way. Some musicians are odd like that, where they take everything 100 million% seriously. And it
Yeah.
has to be perfect all the way through. But musical theater, when you play in an orchestra, it is not perfect ever. at all.
Well, it's live.
Yeah.
You're
Yep.
You're trying to catch up. You're slowing
Right.
down. You're just
Yeah.
trying to keep pace of what's actually happening on the stage.
Sure. And I think it's important for pit musicians and music directors, especially, to know how your vocals communicate with your pit orchestra and vice versa.
Right.
I am looking forward to trying to, encourage the upcoming singers on how to make sure you're listening to the orchestra and what they have to do, along with the orchestra being responsible to listen for what you have to do. Because I've been in a lot of shows where the vocalists just sing their thing
You're
and
right.
the pit's just expected to follow along. But there's a lot of things in our music that we have to wait for you or for the singer,
Right.
or like there's stuff that you need to be listening for us in order to know when to come in or when
Yeah.
to sing a certain thing or when dialogue's happening or how long of dialogue you have. So, I'm a firm believer that I think it's important that actors and actresses should know what their music is. And that's why I thought maybe my part in Mitch Mahoney maybe was a little bit more successful because I had that experience to be able to
Yeah.
learn the music a little bit easier. And choreography. And Maren Pinkham did an amazing job choreographing that
Yeah,
show. It was easy
she
to
did.
dance to that. She made things easier. But yeah, I mean, the pit orchestra plays a bigger role than some people lay
Yeah.
them out to be sometimes,
I resonate with what you're saying with the because I'm more a musician. There's a cat. Watch out.
clawed right into me?
Oh, poor thing. You okay, Scott?
Oh,
Yeah,
she loves
okay.
you.
No, I'm a musician.
Yeah.
First, like that.
Yep.
That's more than I'm an actor.
Sure.
And so doing this last show, it was actually hard because I learned the music with the tracks,
Right.
and then you're all of a sudden going to practice, and it's just a piano
Yeah.
trying to fill in everything, and like I'm missing my cues
Mm-hmm.
just because I'm waiting for like the snare hit or
Right.
this like one part on the bass or whatever.
Yep.
So like when the pit was actually there, I was like, oh, my cues are actually super easy to find.
Yes.
This is like I don't even really think about this because I know this. I sing,
Right.
Oh,
that's good.
So yeah, no, I think it's super important to have like when you're singing, you're just like you're not just singing. You're
Right.
you're a part of something bigger than yourself.
For sure.
The
Even
same-
if it's just you, it's definitely more than just do. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Even though it's my solo,
Right.
it's not like I'm not actually up there by myself just singing.
Mhm.
I got people behind me. helping
Totally.
me out, so.
Yeah. I remember then, like, before I would sing for Mitch Mahoney, there's this little vamp, and what a vamp is just it's an unending repeated measure until a line is said,
Right.
essentially. So I remember there were times that I would have to take the speller's number off and give it to Rona and turn around, and the vamp would go a little longer, a little shorter.
Right.
But knowing to need to pay attention to that helped
Where-
it where the pit didn't sound like they were on the wrong moment, or I
Right.
came in on a wrong, it's like that.
Where's the downbeat?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just knowing what you've rehearsed and practicing that and making sure you know what your part is.
Yeah.
And not just like singing whenever you want, expecting the pit to follow you.
Yeah.
Because I've been in a lot of shows where it's just like, oh, we're measure 5 now. Okay. Oh, I thought we were 2 measures behind. Or,
Yeah.
when poor Josh had to flip pages because he thought we were skipping songs in one of our shows, and then show that should not be named. Like, that happens all the time. I've skipped pages of music before just because someone's missed a line or totally missed a song, or
Yeah.
we've jumped ahead. And like you said, live theater just does that. It's very impromptu.
Anything can happen.
That's
Totally.
the way it goes. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
No.
fun though.
Well, we appreciate you in the pit.
Thanks.
You're very solid.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yes.
It's cool. Well, when you consider other people when you're doing something,
Yeah.
it makes life easier. I think you can use that word of advice in any aspect of life. But in theater,
Yeah.
it's super important to make sure that like you were saying, you're involved in something bigger than just yourself. That backstage, stage managing versus
Yeah.
tech versus lights versus music versus acting,
Yeah.
they all have to work together. And if they don't, then something's
And
got to
it's
change.
In a community.
Amazing.
Is that why they call it community theater?
I think it is. I think
Or
it
it's
is.
just in a community of people. Maybe.
Oh.
I remember.
Didn't mean to kill that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you're probably right. It's not-
I
No, I
remember the
think I like
second
Scott.
time that OHMPAA did a funny thing happened on the way to the forum.
That was my first show with them. Yeah.
We were
Which one? The second time?
The
or
second
first
time.
The
Yeah.
second
I
time.
was not around for the first time,
Yeah.
but yeah.
the second time we did it. We're all sitting out back, and the pit played, and every night I watched Steve Jones, because when you started playing, when the clarinet started playing,
Mhm.
there was a wave of you, like, and not to slight anyone in that pit, but you and your clarinet made the difference with like the fanfare. We didn't have any of that besides your clarinet in that show.
Oh, yeah.
And you did all the fanfare and all of that on the clarinet, and
Yeah.
wow, it made that show. Could you imagine having a show that takes place in Greece or Roman times and not having fanfare?
That's right. I played
And,
the trumpet book for that
Oh,
one.
you
Yeah.
killed it.
Thanks.
And I think that kind of echoes through every show I've known you to be in, that you're not just like a background part of that sound. I mean,
Yeah.
what you are playing adds so much to it.
Oh, thanks.
yeah.
I appreciate
you're a
that.
character in itself without even trying to be.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it was really cool to then watch you actually become a character. With spelling bee,
Yeah.
you became someone that you weren't.
Yeah.
And if I could just reiterate on that, you had, I don't know if either of you noticed, but when she came out on stage to begin with, before you had even said a line, you had the whole audience. I mean, they were rolling in laughter, which is
Yeah.
the persona that you put on. You were never Rachel when you came out. You
Yeah.
were this new character.
Right.
And you maintained it. You never stopped. We talked with Janelle, maximum effort, right? That was a big
Yeah.
thing from the first season. And you gave it maximum. You were Mitch Mahoney the whole time.
Oh, thanks.
You had a lot of time where you had downtime in that show.
Yes. That was
How
fun.
many puzzle books did you go through?
Like at least 3 full word searchable. A whole 2 bags of double bubble gum. Yeah. I chucked a few lollipops. Yeah.
was
A
like,
lot of improving there.
Yeah, it was good that she was able to come up with stuff to do on her own, because that was you, right? That was not anything that you were told to do.
Yeah. That was me just trying to like cultivate what Mitch would have done during this whole time kind of thing, which was actually really fun to do. I loved that part the most, I think, was. And the little things that like people would notice, like, so like Kristen's husband, Matt, would come and then he would notice something from because you can't see everything all in one show. So
Yeah.
every time Matt would come out with us after, he was like, oh my gosh, I noticed you did that. Or Like I would fall asleep at one point and Matt noticed that, or, just little things that you just do for yourself, because I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I watched some YouTube videos of some personas of Mitch, and some people just kind of sat and it was dark. Like you couldn't really see Mitch until that character came out. And then, so mine was like right in the spotlight the whole time. You could see that character. So I'm like, okay, what can I do to keep my character going, be involved in what's happening? So like I would do my word search, and then like when Logan would come up and be weird, I would like look and give like a weird, like the frig's wrong with you kind of look, and like go back to my word search, or pop a bubble during Olive's solo because I really didn't care. She was singing about her dad being like, it was like, how can I make her as much of a jerk as I possibly could without being totally inappropriate? But yeah, it was. Thanks, John. That's nice to say. Appreciate that.
Well, it's the truth.
Well, John and I love how we just switched roles. Like John's always acting and I'm always backstage. And now John was backstage and I was acting. It's kind of fun.
It was. Role reversal.
I know.
Right.
I love that. John was a producer for the show that should not be named.
Oh, they know.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
We might have talked about that.
Oh, yeah.
And they know that he loved every minute of it.
Yeah, sure did, pal. Well, you do it again, right?
We're not here to talk about me.
Oh.
We're here to talk about you.
We'll talk about him again. Don't worry.
That's a good point.
You worked with a ton of. You said all these shows you've done. You've worked with a ton of music directors.
I have. Yeah.
And tons of different experiences with it.
I have. Yep. Some are not. Some are just musicians. Some are music teachers. Some are actual music directors. Some that are just friends too. Everyone's got their own take on how to prepare for things. It's a heavy job because you're responsible for.
I don't envy it. No.
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure in a short amount of time to make sure. And you have to try. There's part of it where you're physically teaching the music to people. And then there's a part of it where you're like preparing and prepping people to be able to practice and learn on their own.
Right.
So there's a balance between like spoon feeding it to everybody and then like, okay, go home and work on this yourself, and encouraging them to go and practice themselves, which I am constantly doing on a day-to-day. It's what my job is I
Giving
teach
out
kids
homework.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like a kid gets a song every week and they're encouraged to go home and practice. And every week they, whatever, they move on. And I'm constantly reiterating that. So music directing is one of those things where, you have to know everything that's going on 100 million %. When you're like teaching music or you're teaching choreography, for example, it's important to consider what the choreography is for when you're singing. So like in Godspell, there is a song called Save the People, and it's like in this 4-part harmony kind of thing. And if for community theater, when you have a select amount of skill levels and talents and things that you're working with, you have to kind of have discernment of, okay, what roles am I going to, like, what parts am I going to give? What's going to be strong? How are they going to handle singing that with the intense choreography that they had?
Right.
And still feel successful. And there were some songs in that show that I probably think could have gone a little better, but I didn't think about all those different blocking or choreography things at the time. I was just going with what the music was saying. So sometimes going with, it depends on your crowd and depends on where you're at. I've had people who are sticking to the book 100%. Like this is every part has to be covered and filled. And I've had some where they've kind of congealed certain parts and certain things to make it still sound successful, which is what you have to do as a musician and as a music director, is make those calls and say, okay, what's going to make this show thrive more than just honoring what the book says? Because sometimes you don't have to actually do that. Sometimes it's okay to cut a harmony at some points if it's going to make someone feel, especially in community theater, I think, professional theater, you can enforce a little more expectation. Not that OHMPAA doesn't have expectation. I'm just saying, like, to be able to create more fun environment, you can make a little sacrifices like that sometimes to make it feel like it's more successful.
It's just finding out what is important.
Right.
Yeah. And nailing that, and then we can add the sprinkles on top
for sure
when we get there. But yeah, no, it's a big undertaking.
It's a lot, yeah.
Because you need to know
everything.
You need to know it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, not just just the music, which you definitely need to know, but it's also like what's happening in the choreography, like you're saying, or like what's everything going on.
Yep.
Just because I think back on on can we mention Spamalot now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can talk about that now. That's
Yeah,
not
let's do it.
That's not the show that shall not be named.
No, there's the end of the first act when we're jogging in place and singing, like that was a lot.
That's hard to do, I'm sure.
I don't know. We did it and it was fine, but the first couple of times doing it, you're out of breath. And then running off stage because people are chasing you
With a syncopated tempo, and it was
it was. But I mean, we did it perfectly every time
Absolutely right.
because we're really great,
Right.
Absolutely.
Perfectionist.
But, yeah, exactly. But do you think people think I was serious or?
Oh, you're not?
No, I am.
Yeah, that's
I am. I'm just wondering if I said it like I had sarcasm in my voice because
I didn't.
I didn't
It
mean
sounded serious
it.
to me.
I didn't catch it at
You know
all.
what I'd like to talk about while we're talking about this? That we all sang that part, right? There was Runaway song, Runaway.
Run away.
And we were out of breath from what we were doing.
The running beforehand.
Yeah. And then Scott has to have a drink. Would you have a drink and a pee?
Have a drink and a pee. We'll be back for Act 3. 2 songs.
I was always super
2.
impressed that he was able to knock that out because at the same week, it was part of the blocking that we were supposed to look like we were exhausted.
Yeah.
I think some of us were not. It didn't take too much.
It wasn't acting. It wasn't acting.
No.
It was part of that
That's good.
the whole time.
And I don't think
Yeah.
you ever got enough credit for that.
Oh, thank you.
Bravo,
Thank you.
sir. Bravo.
No, that's the first time anybody's ever mentioned that.
Well,
Aw.
And I've
I've
been
always
waiting.
thought
I've
it.
been waiting.
I know you have, buddy. I
I've
got
been
you.
waiting.
I always thought it'd be funny for you to be like, have a drink and a pee. We'll be back for Act 3, and then he's like 2, and then you'd be like, all right, we'll have a drink and a poo, and we'll be back,
for Act 2.
Just change it all together. Yeah.
Oh, now you tell me that. Come on.
Mm.
It would add to the music.
Well,
but it was-
the next time
Yeah.
Upa does spin a lot.
it was such a success. We might as well redo it.
Why not? Absolutely.
So you said you've had music directors that are musicians,
Right.
that are teachers,
Yep.
that are directors.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference there?
The way they handle rehearsals and the way that they teach their cast how to sing.
Yeah.
I'm a music teacher myself, so I would go about it as I would run a rehearsal for my middle school band or a band I would have in front of me, which is you teach parts individually and then by sections, and then you run those sections and then you work on things and then you add sections until you learn a song, basically. So it's pretty straightforward. Musicians, I've seen some points where they'll kind of throw what the notes are at that time, and they'll kind of come in and listen to the entire thing all the way through, and then try to fix after. And then directors, which I think are sometimes stronger in a way because they've done it more, is they'll take both of those practices and in between, talk about breath support and diction and all the different singing type things to help them not only sing correctly, but act the part correctly. Because you are acting when you sing too. You're not just singing your song, you are acting through that, or you're dancing through that, or you're whatever you're doing through that song. So directors, I think, do a great job. Is a goal that I would like to achieve at some point is taking those two ends and saying, okay, musically, everything works, teaching it in chunks, going through the whole song and making sure it's exactly how it's delivered, but also giving the actors that success to be able to portray it on stage correctly, even in a music rehearsal. When you're not actually acting it or you're not actually choreographing it, you're giving them that perspective on how this song is supposed to be portrayed, regardless of what you're doing. And I think that's a really cool perspective on that. But also sometimes that can get a little overwhelming for people. Like, whoa, that's a lot to think about. I just want to learn what my notes are, So you have to kind of pick and choose when to do that, how to do that, what songs to do that, when to not do that, what cast you have, what type of people you have. It's all about peopling, really.
Yeah.
One actor can take all that where another actor can't. Or one part, especially in community theater, one person could be brand new and one person could be I feel like in spelling bee, all of us had different levels of experience.
Right.
Where someone like Janelle or Carrie-Anna could have loved that director's perspective. Whereas myself, it's like, I just need to know what notes I have so I can go home and practice them on my keyboard, or like, just learning how to balance that amongst a rehearsal and amongst people and getting to know people. So I like all perspectives. I think they all should tie together and do that. And I think they all should learn from that in a way. But yeah, it's been, and being a pit musician, working with those people, I've had to either overcompensate for sometimes or take on some of those roles and chat with other pit musicians about questions I've had, or or the director's aspect has given me those answers. So like you do have to have that relationship with your music director as a musician and say, okay,
right.
Is the music director communicating cuts? Are they communicating when things are being split and changed? Are they communicating tempo changes? Are they communicating, oh, this song is not happening here, it's happening here, is that, and then when you go into rehearsal as a musician, because sometimes I've gone into a show where they've cut a song, but I practiced that song and I didn't know ahead of time, and I was ready to, and I was prepared to play that, or it's like, oh, I could have spent more time practicing what was actually supposed to be practiced, or communication and peopling is really what it is in a nutshell, with all the musical stuff on top of it, I think.
Yeah. No, it's super important, like, because it's kind of like firsthand experience with spelling bees. Like you came to a lot of music rehearsals and you didn't sing much.
Right.
I didn't either,
didn't
actually.
need to be there.
Yep.
No.
There was plenty of times I didn't come because I didn't need to be there, but there were some times where I was sitting there twiddling my thumbs.
That's true. Right.
I actually practiced some singing in parts where I ended up not singing.
Right.
So,
right.
But,
Right.
Which, I mean, it happens.
It does. Yeah.
Yep.
It's just the less we can make it happen, the better. And obviously,
For sure.
Josh and Kristen, know exactly, and probably feel bad, but it's fine.
I also think there might be a little bit of a camaraderie thing there.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
You didn't have to sing that part, and yes, it probably was an ultimate waste of your time, but the idea of being able to be together to sing that.
Yep.
I know in past shows, if I'm not in an ensemble number or something like that, I'd still like the idea of being able to rehearse together, So I think there is that part of it a little bit.
Sure.
It's hard because we often think of ourselves going into that situation, and this is my time. I'm volunteering my time. But I don't know. I think there needs to be a little bit of a this isn't just about me focus. So it's hard to balance that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And then how do you justify when someone, so like for me, it would be like, okay, if I was music director and Scott, you had to sit during a rehearsal for 45 minutes, which I've had to do a couple times.
Yeah.
As a music director, I would have a conversation and say, hey, I'm sorry that, like it's just communication and justifying why that happened, or, or the intent was there and it just didn't get there or whatever. A lot of things I've learned in the musical world can just be solved by a little communication. I think anything in life, can be communicated, but even so, time is very important to me personally. So, I always like to make sure that people know exactly what they're signing up for and know exactly what they need to have and the expectations they need to have. So keeping that is
Scott,
important too.
No, did you sing it all in spelling bee?
At the end.
Yeah.
I just kind of blended in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then that's a whole separate thing. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
I'm thinking like, oh, maybe.
But I was going to be singing in Zach and Janelle's number. I was going to be singing in that.
Oh,
like the Podly
at the beginning. At the beginning, I was going to be singing in Pandemonium. I was supposed to get up and dance initially.
Yep.
In Pandemonium.
And you're like,
forgot about that.
So you just worked yourself out a sweet deal.
Yeah, that's one of the
number one
ways
fan.
they sold me on.
Sarah's Bracket, shout out.
That's how she sold me on being in the show.
Yeah.
You don't have
I won't
to do
make
anything.
you sing. I won't make you dance. You can have your lines written right there in front of you.
I know. You did have a sweet deal.
It was a sweet deal.
But you had some speaking parts though.
I had plenty of speaking parts. Yeah.
Right. Or
But
vocal,
for the most-
like
for the most part, I had my lines right there.
Right. But that is
so.
correct. Miss Park, that is correct. That's a musical number.
That was a bit tough. Yeah.
That was a tough one. Yeah.
So I want to take it a little different direction.
Cool.
So how long have you been teaching music?
Ooh, this is my 10th year teaching.
10th year.
I know.
And
Bro.
I know.
If we look back at the past.
Can everyone hear the bags under my eyes? Can anybody hear them?
No, we cannot.
Oh, thanks.
So in the past 10 years of teaching, it hasn't all been, strawberries and cream, It hasn't been all roses and unicorns.
Nope.
We had to deal with some horrible times.
Yeah.
And
Don't say it.
He's gonna say
that word that we shall not name, but we know what that word is. And can you imagine
It's COVID.
being he said it. How
Oh, that was funny.
did you teach music classes
Yeah. Well, I had to.
over Zoom
Yeah.
or
Yep.
in masks or what?
I'm just
What was
picturing,
that like?
picturing a Zoom class and all the kids have their instruments. And
I've done it.
And
Yeah.
all the delay that everybody had.
Oh, yes. 100%.
So let's hear a little bit about that. I mean,
Are you sure you want to hear about
hopefully
that?
hopefully we can laugh a little bit about it. I mean,
Yeah.
it must have been a wicked struggle.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, tell me about it. What did you do? How did you do it?
All of the above, what you just listed, was exactly what I was expected to do. So it wasn't I had to kind of come up with whatever. I was expected to teach kids how to play an instrument. So it was a lot of creativity, a lot of technology, a lot of new programs and things that we had to. Thankfully, we had the financial capability to purchase these things and to give kids, access to Zoom and access to Smart Music, which is a musical learning website where you can get all different, like it's a whole online catalog where you can get all band music and you get tracks for every part and you can do practicing examples and certain things like that. There's a website that called Sight Reading Factory, which practices rhythm counting and sight reading on your instrument, which sight reading, for those who don't know, is approaching a piece of music without instruction ahead of time and just playing it based on whatever your musical ability is. And so working on those skills. So teaching music, I've done fully remote. I've done partially remote, which means I have half a group of kids on the computer next to me and I have a half a group of kids in front of me at the same exact time. That was fun. So it was more of a juggling of, okay, you guys are doing this at this moment. And then I focus on them and I mute. And then, okay, you guys are focusing on this. And I go here and I rotate back and forth.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was a lot. And the kids I had to act a lot, actually. So maybe that might correlate with how acting with Mitch Mahoney worked out decently well.
You had to act like you were enjoying yourself, or
just like always have a smile on my face. And, I was there for the kids mostly, even if they never learned anything musically, just that they could wake up and see someone that was excited to see them, even though they were sitting in their bed and they weren't at school with their friends or they weren't in the same environment they've learned to be involved, or they were afraid to be out in the world, or their parents were, whatever situation they were in. It was my job to make sure that they felt loved at some point of the day. So I did all that I could to try to make sure the experience was fun. So sometimes I didn't teach music. There were some days where we had, John, I think, has witnessed a couple times I've taught at my house. Where,
Well, I had the unique perspective of 2 months of being upstairs playing video games while I had to listen to her teach.
Oh, that's
and I
true.
grew to know her kids and their voices and
Yeah.
and their instruments, and they looked forward to being on video chat with Rachel for that, and it was amazing.
Thanks. Yeah.
No.
But I think what was even more amazing than that is what happened when you went back to school, because you had some pretty nuts restrictions. I mean,
Oh, yeah. True. Good point. Yeah. Once you get into the virtual world, you can get used to it kind of quickly. And the kids are grown up with that stuff now. So like they're so used to, they even know how to figure out Zoom and Google Classroom and all that better than I probably could have at that time. And which was helpful. But when we went back into school in 2021, we had playing masks and bell covers and kids had to sit and for band, it was the most, choir was the most restriction. And then band and then string orchestra barely had any restrictions. But the original restrictions when you went back to school was they had to be masked 14 feet apart indoors. So I could only fit probably in that music room at the middle school for any of those that went to OHMS back in the day. At that point, I could probably only fit 10 to 12 kids, and I had 30 kids in a class. So I had 4 blocks of kids. They had to all be spread out. And so the community was lost that I built for a long time with those kids.
Yeah.
That was gone. The relationship building was very difficult to maintain. They hated playing mass, but they got over it. I mean, the kids were resilient. I will say they were more resilient than I was. I think I was kind of getting sick of all of that a lot quicker than they were, and they helped me kind of stick through it. But and we had to play outside a lot of the time. Like I taught all of my elementary lessons outside. I couldn't teach inside. That was horrible. So my 8th graders right now, they learn their instrument outside and learned the beginnings of how to play their instrument outside. So trying to make that fun and enjoyable was really difficult. I lost a lot of, like, my numbers dropped. I used to have 85 kids in band. Now I have about 40, 45 of them. So my numbers dropped in half, so that it was hard for the music department quite a bit. I mean, poor Dennis couldn't have singing at all. He had no choir for a long time because singing was the most spreadable way to spread whatever you had. So, for him to be able to get back into singing was really great to see. And then band took a second hit. At least we could do it. It was just so spread out. And I'm thankful our string program didn't suffer too much, because our district in particular at Oxford Hills has a very strong string program. So it was good that stayed alive as long as it did. And I think Natalie and Kyle, I think appreciated that quite a bit. But yeah, that was tough to do. That was really hard. But I will say we did a lot of Scott.
It's COVID.
Ooh, that could be a song. But I'm just reflecting a little. We did a lot of musical concept practice. So they did a lot of music notation practice. They did a lot of rhythm counting practice. They did a lot of,
which is important.
Very much so.
Which is important.
Totally. And now I have incredible musicians now in my band that can do music, and it's nothing against the kids I've had in the past, because I love all of them. They're all talented musicians, but this group I have this year is a byproduct of all of that. And they are playing music I've never offered to my groups before. They're already playing higher caliber stuff just because they went through all of that practice. So I'm thankful for that experience in a way, but it was hard at the time for sure.
Yeah. I wonder if there's anything to for one, rhythm is so important.
Totally.
Making sure you stay in time, or at least have good time sense,
Right. Teaching beat is important.
Super important. And how much of it. And do you think there's anything that you learned through that you're still applying today?
Definitely having patience for kids is one thing I'm learning. Is, there's a huge social emotional learning kind of concept we're grabbing now. For that, musically, I'm trying to focus more on those concepts in my rehearsal instead of just teaching the song to the concert, which is a very typical thing, which can correlate to musical theater, where you're just teaching the music to sing, to perform. Whereas now it's okay, why are we choosing the music we're choosing? What are we learning from that? What are the concepts we're taking? So, I just did a musical notation unit recently, and now I'm doing a rhythm counting unit, and I'm trying to give kids the experience, on how to count rhythm in multiple facets, writing it down, reading it, saying it out loud to each other, noticing it in their music. So just applying all those things to rehearsals a lot more than I used to, I think is a huge takeaway from that. And using those resources prior, it's just helped me to learn how to teach that better too.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's really cool. But in terms of that, that can correlate into musical theater too, a little bit, so I'm looking forward to trying that with music directing next fall. I think
that's cool.
Be good.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That's great.
Thanks.
Can I possibly get your hot take on a couple items?
Okay.
I'm thinking, coming off of Spelling Bee.
Yeah.
A big thing that we've heard from a couple of different people, is the idea of ticket pricing.
Oh yeah.
Right. And that goes hand in hand with a pit, right? Because the more we have better musicians, better pay. I mean, it's a rotating circle of, if we want to get people in the area, if we want to get people in the pit, we got to raise these prices. We got to have the money coming from somewhere.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on the pay, getting people in?
Musician pay?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to pay them you have to pay them for their time, and you have to consider how to equally do that. I'm glad that OHMPAA has raised their prices for pit musicians as of recent, because the amount that I would get before would not justify the time I took to practice at home or to go to rehearsals. And depending on the music director, sometimes you have more rehearsals than others do. So I think it would be nice to consider down the road what it takes to be a pit musician, why you're paying them what you're paying them, what they're actually responsible for contractually, and then considering, okay, what's that worth for someone's time?
Mhm.
I personally, I think a weekend should be $350 a weekend, ideally, right? But you can't do that everywhere. You can't. It's, some places have different budgets than others. And how many shows are you doing in a weekend? How long is the show? What, does every pit player get paid the same? Do they get paid differently, right? It's a different, it's an open bag, I think, but
Well, obviously women should get less.
Thank you. Wow.
Right.
Are we in the 1950s here? Thank you, Aaron.
I don't think the triangle player should get as much as the drummer either.
Right. Yeah. It's just interesting. Yeah. That's why the drummer plays the triangle. They just loop that together.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
But,
So we don't.
so
just
the drummer
hire a triangle
should
player.
get more
Right.
because he's playing two instruments.
Yeah.
Sometimes in some Broadway places and higher up theater productions, they pay by book that you play. So if you're reading, if you're playing, or a certain amount of instruments, excuse me. So
Yeah.
if you do 6 shows and you play 3 instruments and you're getting paid $50 per instrument per show, right? That's $150 per show.
Yeah.
Times 6, whatever the math is there.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can justify it that way, depending on how many instruments they're playing too. You can talk numbers all day, I think, but in terms of OHMPAA, I'm thankful that you're not going to get quality musicians unless you pay them. Unfortunately, is what that is, and I feel it's weird to say that because I'm talking to actors who don't get paid, and I've experienced what it's like to not get paid to be in a production. Not that you have to get paid for everything that you do, but I think if you want people to commit their time and you want quality musicians who get used to getting paid in different aspects of things, I think it's important to consider, raising that up a little bit more.
Yeah.
When I say $350 a weekend, that's not gonna, I don't know how that would happen.
Yeah.
In a community theater perspective, but I think, you got to pay people their time for sure.
Yeah. And I'm always surprised on the level of quality that we produce out of that pit.
Yeah. Well, and it's who you know too.
It's for sure. And just like, here's some pennies. Please play please play with us.
And sometimes
and
that
they
is.
do.
Yeah.
I mean, Rick, fantastic.
He's a great drummer. And that's like a hobby for him. Like he's in a band. Like he doesn't like do musical theater all the time.
And then you got like Danielle, like one of like the
We can pay her everything anytime.
Well, that goes hand in hand with my next hot take question is that how do we, yes, it's great that we have Rick and we have Danielle, but if we didn't have Rick or Danielle,
right,
we would be in a tough spot.
Sure. Yep.
And so my next hot take question is how do we cultivate a better community for the pit?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
how do we get people involved? How do we gain interest?
Yeah, it is all about your music director. I mean, going in, like I need to have a select list of people who I need to recruit for this orchestra. Like I'm already thinking about Jekyll and Hyde and how it's a pretty traditional size orchestra. So already thinking about musicians, people that I know, which is why the musician world is so about connecting and about people. Like you can call someone and say, hey, I'm that's usually how it goes. Hey, I'm doing a gig and I need a clarinet player for 8 shows. Who do you have? Or that there's someone who can play whatever, and you just call them and say, hey, this is the amount for this many rehearsals. So like Natalie came and played cello for us. And I said, Natalie, this is an 8-show production with 3 rehearsals for this price. And that's usually kind of how you go at it. Right. But at the same time, like, when you don't have those little gems in the area, it's all about who do they know that can refer, or who does your music director know? But I think also advertising that, like I think people know that we pay, or that OHMPAA paid a little bit lower than some others in the surrounding areas. So it's hard. I mean, people have to make a living. Like I know, like my predecessor, Blaze Spath, that's what he does a lot of the time is he just plays in musicals. And I know he loves to do it, but that's his source of income in a way. You know, people have to make a living somehow.
Yeah.
So it's a hard balance because when you have a tight budget, it's hard to justify boosting that. But if you want quality musicians, it's partly about how much are you willing to commit for each show, and also about who you know in a way too, and connecting with people who know. Like I know Kyle Jordan knows a ton of musicians he's worked with over the years, and I've met a lot of people over the years. So it's about communicating again. But
and hopefully you're creating a few new musicians to help out.
Hopefully,
in our pits.
Yeah, that is an interesting. Yeah, that's happened where.
Which leads me to my next hot take question.
Boom.
If you had to guess, how many students do you think you've taught them their very first instrument in your career?
Oh my word!
I mean, you're getting up there.
It doesn't seem like a hot take. I feel like it's just like a question.
Yeah.
No, I'm putting her on the spot.
That is a lot.
Okay, maybe that isn't a hot take. All right, strike it.
10-4.
I want to know.
On the spot.
I want to know your hot take about Scott's mustache in Spelling
Oh
Bee.
my
Yes,
God.
that's a better hot take.
That's a hot take.
It's literally, if without the stash, there's no Doug Panch. With the stash, it's 100% Doug Panch. So I'm looking at Scott, and he looks nothing like Doug Panch. But if
No.
he shaved and put a mustache, it's like poof, Doug Panch just shows up out of nowhere.
Next hot
It's
take.
amazing.
What do you think about Aaron's naked upper lip?
Oh, well, it's not anymore. But poor guy, he was walking on the street. We were going to rehearsal, and I screamed. I'm like, oh my word! It was crazy.
His baby face.
I think I don't know if I upset you. I'm sorry, but I made a huge deal out of it because I hadn't seen Aaron like that in a long time. I think since I met you when I first started dating John. I think
Yeah.
you don't even think you really had a baby face a lot back then either.
Not.
It wasn't much. Yeah.
Not often.
But John was like, "This is the Aaron that I know."
Well,
one that
no,
I
to be
grew up
more
with.
specific, I was like, it's not very often you see your first love 15 years
Oh yeah,
later.
that's what it was. Yeah. I know you had a beautiful little moment there.
Yeah.
That's
So those are
awesome.
Rachel's hot takes. Thanks for
Wow.
that.
You're
Great.
welcome. No problem.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I've had a really great time getting to know Rachel a little better,
Yeah.
learning about her career and
Thanks.
music teaching,
Yeah.
Mm.
music
I learned a lot too.
being in a pit,
Yeah.
directing a musical,
Mhm.
and now acting.
I know.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Comes
It's
full
crazy.
circle.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what
Is
comes next.
Is it that time?
Thanks.
Is it that time?
I think we're getting to that time.
Rachel,
What?
we're a very questionable group around here, and we have a very questionable person among us. He's
Right.
questionable and questionable looking.
Nose
Uh-huh.
goes.
It's not Aaron. It is Scott.
Oh.
No.
You guys didn't go for your nose at all. Like, did you want to be questionable?
I forgot about
nose.
the
Nose
nose.
goes.
I
Oh,
forgot
there
his
it is.
nose.
It's Scott. Scott's the questionable.
I'm the
person.
questionable guy. But I did put on deodorant today, so
Nice.
So he's not questionable smelling.
No.
Congratulations. That's great.
I don't
so
think I
we're,
did.
we're gonna end the show with our strike.
Ooh.
5 questions for the guests. And Rachel, guess what? You're the guest.
Yes.
Yeah. So here's your first question.
Okay.
For strike. What are you listening to these days?
Ooh, good question. I like that one.
That is a good one. I'm a huge Christian, so I listen to a lot of worship music all the time.
So a little more specific.
Okay.
Like, you're not listening to How Great Thou Art from
No,
the hymn
a
book.
lot of,
You're
a lot of
listening to-
contemporary Christian music, like Phil
Yeah.
Wickham and The Church Will Sing has a really cool album out right now. I like Caleb a lot, the radio station there, so I'm kind of jamming along to that. It's really cool.
Oh, so
Anything
you're
about
a
the Lord is
radio. You're a radio person.
I'm getting to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm also really picky about my worship music, so I'm like, I turn off the radio and I put my music on, then I turn it off. But I'm very picky.
You've gotten your money's worth on Apple Music.
I
playing
have.
the same 10 songs over and over again.
I do. Yeah, it's
Just
true.
buy the album at that point. Come on.
At this point, yeah, all I do
You're
is
gonna save
just
some
listen to the
money.
same song over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Nice.
Thanks.
I want to answer that question too. I like that question a
What do
lot.
you,
That is a good
okay.
one.
All right. Aaron, what are you listening to these days?
Well, right now I am listening to the new Carly Rae Jepsen.
I heard that's pretty good, actually.
It is
We
actually.
talked about this last week, I think.
We did. Yeah.
It's fire.
I've heard.
There's a couple of songs on it that
I
really
think I
good.
heard that from you.
Yeah, probably.
John, what are you listening to?
I've been listening to the new Kid Cudi album.
Oh,
Wow.
Who?
Kid Cudi.
The Who.
Oh, Kid Cudi.
Scott Muscudi.
Yeah, I've heard it.
That's the old
Heard it.
one here.
There's a
Yeah.
song called Tequila Shots that really gets my, tequila shot part of my brain going. you know?
Okay.
go.
Nice.
What are you listening to?
I'm listening to podcasts.
Nice.
You know,
Only
I'm-
like, are you no
Pretty-
music?
actually, no, I'm listening to Christmas music.
Oh, that's
94.9.
also what I'm listening to.
94.9.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love
A
the
lot of
Christmas music.
yeah.
Once Thanksgiving hits, I like listening to Christmas music, and I like listening to a lot of my Christmas music I have downloaded because I got a lot of Bob Rivers
Ooh.
and that sort of stuff, the BLM stuff, 12 Pains
Nice.
of Christmas, and
Mm.
Love
it's,
that.
It's kind of tradition. And
12 Pains of Christmas.
yeah,
I love that
rigging up
song.
these lights.
Hangovers.
I love that.
That's
I love
cool.
that stuff. But
Yeah.
mostly I'm listening to more of these podcasts that are like serialized stories.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Really cool stuff.
There's a lot
Really
out
cool
there
stuff.
you can
yeah,
dig
there
into.
is a ton of stuff. And with my drive
Yeah,
to
you
and
got
from
it.
work, it helps me kill the time.
Oh, for sure.
That's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm listening to. And that's what we're all listening to.
You ever
Cool.
heard of the Backstairs podcast?
I've listened a couple of times.
Oh, okay.
It's a pretty good show.
Hmm.
Yeah. But anyways, we're going back to Rachel.
Rachel, sorry.
Yeah.
I just like that
Yeah.
question. That was
Yeah.
a good question.
Yeah.
That's good.
What is a guilty pleasure musical of yours?
Oh, Shrek the musical, 100,000,000%. That and Into the Woods, those are my two faves. I love them.
Yeah.
I just watched Shrek the musical on Netflix recently. It was awesome. So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I want to do that show so bad.
Hmm.
I love that one.
Hint, hint out there, people.
Common theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, comment your when you're doing it, and we'll come out for it.
Yes, I would love to see that.
Either try out or we'll just go to the show.
Right.
Right.
And Into the Woods, either way.
So
I love Into the Woods.
Me too.
It's one of my
So
favorite.
good.
it's a tough one, but it's a good show.
Yeah.
What's your favorite song from a musical?
Ooh. All right, I'm just thinking about Shrek because I'm obsessed.
I mean, the right answer would be I Am Adolfo, but whatever.
I am Adolfo. Yeah, that's a fun one. I like when John sings that song. That's a good one. I do
And
love
every morning in the shower you hear John singing I Am
I
Adolfo.
want to be very clear. That does not happen.
No, we did a lot of Hassan and Pafev this past season, so that's
in the shower?
John would, I would be upstairs. We have an open concept house, and he would be upstairs. I would be upstairs, and I go Hassan, and in the shower he go Pafev, and that's where Pafev came from. So, but my song I do love from Shrek the musical. What's the one that it's the fairy tale creatures? What's the one I was just talking about the other day?
Story of my
Yeah,
life.
that's such a great. I love Pinocchio and that. That's such a great song.
Nice.
But I know it's today is such a great. I think Sutton Foster does a great job in that musical. So
She's great.
that's one of my faves.
Okay. What do you got for a dream role or project as a whole? What
Shrek
I mean,
the
now-
musical.
now that Shrek the musical.
I love Shrek the musical so much.
Do you want to music direct Shrek?
I'd love to play in it. Actually,
You want to be
I want to be in the
Fiona?
orchestra for that.
Oh, you wanna be
No,
in it?
gosh, no Fiona.
No.
I mean, or Donkey. That would be fun. Or Pinocchio. I would play probably Pinocchio maybe, but
Yeah.
I would love to play in the pit orchestra again for Shrek. I think.
Yeah.
Or do Into the Woods again. I'm just obsessed about those two shows. I really don't know a lot of musicals. Really, those are Shrek keeps coming in my head.
Yeah.
Can we talk about my campaign for you this year?
What's that?
I think that Rachel would make a perfect addition to the Misery play. I think she would
yeah.
kill it as the lead in Misery.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just think that she has now that she's shown a little bit of her acting chops. I think, I think she would kill it.
Maybe.
Huh?
Maybe.
I think you could put your own spin on it, and I think it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. I don't know the show. I have to read it.
Read it.
Yeah, I would read it
Watch
first
it.
for sure
Right.
because it's
Yeah, it's a movie too, right?
Kathy Bates.
Well, Stephen King. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very ignorant to these.
But I think that I've been telling everybody,
I could see that.
trying to put little seeds. that
Yeah.
I
could
think
see
that
that.
Rachel would be great.
Maybe we'll
at.
watch it, John.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would love to play in the Shrek musical. So someone please do Shrek the musical, please. Somebody
out
just
there,
for me.
number one fans. So we got one more question,
Okay.
and here's the tough one.
Oh boy.
How do you build a community?
Ooh. Okay. Honesty,
Mm.
trusting behavior, and communication, I think are 3 big things.
Oh,
Owning up to your behavior and why you act the way that you do, and being real with people,
Mm.
and being cautious of them over yourself a lot of the time. Like when I try to cultivate a community with my 7th and 8th graders, every time I act a certain way, I always tell them why I'm acting a certain way. And I'm always justifying why I do what I do and why I expect them to do certain things and the reason behind that. So, in any aspect of anything, I like to be real with people. I like to be open. I like to be loving, and to follow the Lord with that. But, I think in doing that, people can see, a genuineness about you. And then just communication is a huge thing. I've noticed. I have a lot of people who I've dealt with that don't communicate well. And I have not communicated well on many occasions. So communication and trustworthy behavior, thinking of someone before yourself, and just like being honest and open with people, I think is important.
Well,
Wow, that's
that's a great answer.
Thank you.
That is really
It wasn't
good.
as tough as I thought.
Yeah.
Very
No,
loaded.
you nailed it. You nailed it.
question there. Thanks.
So before we sign off, what you got anything else you want to say? Anything we missed?
No,
Yeah.
I think I'm just really thankful to be here today. It was fun to talk about what I've done. I'm very surprised at how much I've done. So thank you for reliving that a little bit for me. But I'm really excited to hopefully this episode inspire someone to try to think about theater a little differently and maybe try music directing or become a musician. If you want to learn how to play an instrument, I'm happy to teach you how to do that because the Oxford Hills School Department pays me to do that. So if
Cool.
but anyway,
As long as
it's
you're
been a
between
blast.
the ages of 9 and 12.
Yeah. No, it's been a blast. I appreciate you guys. It's been really fun. Thanks for inviting me on. Super awesome.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's a
It's
great
so
episode.
fun.
Really
Yeah.
happy to have you.
Thanks, dude.
Look forward to playing along with you much more as the years
Yeah.
go by.
Yay. Can't wait.
Yeah, as many years as I have left, it's not that many.
Oh,
Well, you're only 30. Chill out.
Oh, that's
I know,
true.
you
Yes,
got a lot
I got
going
of
for you.
time left.
Jeez. What an old fat.
a little bit. Yeah. He's not fat. Poor guy.
But hey, don't forget to check us out on all our social media pages that Janelle will tell you about at the end of the episode.
For sure.
For sure. Right.
Yeah.
Leave a comment asking a question about Scott's mustache.
Ooh, yeah.
Please.
And the whole Patreon and the give us money thing that we joked about last week.
We are selling these
weren't
cups.
Joking.
We're selling these cups. You won't get them until after New Year's.
Mm.
They will be signed by the 3 of us, and we will auction and pay them and sell them off.
You're going to pay the cups? That's nice. Yeah. Wow.
They'll come with a season pass to the Backstairs podcast. So
You can be a guest every episode?
No, they get to
Okay.
listen.
Nothing.
Oh.
Every episode.
For free.
Yeah, you have yes.
For free,
free.
Right.
on the app that they're paying for.
Right.
We're not
But
paying for their
we had to-
app.
Right.
No.
Let's just make that
No.
clear right now. That it's
Right.
You have to pay for the app?
well, you don't have to, but I feel like you're listening on like Spotify or Apple Music.
Oh.
You don't
Apple
want you
Podcast,
don't
yeah.
want commercials. Like,
Oh,
ad free.
ad free. That's what
Right.
you're paying for. No ads.
Oh, good point.
but we just did an ad for Dunkin' Donuts.
We did.
What was the
Oh,
other
and-
thing? Yeah, I want to do an ad for what was the other company you mentioned? Oh man, now I'm going to forget it.
Spotify.
No, there was.
Behringer. We just got a Behringer unit. Behringer
Oh.
Dang it.
for your cheap instrument needs.
I had such a good idea for what we could do.
Behringer is
for
not cheap.
commercial, and now I lost
Well.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. This has been another episode of the Backstairs podcast with John
And Scott.
And Aaron,
and
Rachel.
Yeah. And Rachel.
the Backstairs Podcast.
The Backstairs Podcast.
The Backstairs podcast.
The Backstairs Podcast.
This has been the Backstairs Podcast. You can stream the audio or video format of this episode anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Backstairs Podcast. Send us an email at thebackstairspodcast@gmail.com. Redacted!